Hey gang, Staggs here in the Tool School workshop. Today we're going to talk about the Porter Cable PCC475B. It's a pivoting reciprocating saw, otherwise known as the clamp saw. I'll tell you what I think is right and wrong with it after we hear from Porter Cable. So when you get the saw home and you open up the box, here is what you will find. You will find a saw, a wood blade, and the instructions. They will even throw in some bubble wrap too. But that's what the B is for. Bear is in B-A-R-E, that's it. You have to buy the battery and the charger separately. Remember that. But let me tell you, this saw wins hands down as far as I'm concerned, as far as design goes. I mean, look at this thing. It looks like something the Terminator would hold. Look at the lines, look at the ribs on it. I mean, it just looks like something out of the future. But it's not just another pretty face. Now this actually feels very good. The handle is well designed, the trigger is in the right spot, the locking button to lock out the trigger is in the right spot for your thumb and forefinger. It all feels very good. Even the pivot button is perfectly aligned, as long as you're right-handed, by the way. If you're left-handed, you're gonna have to fiddle a little bit. But for right-handers, the pivoting button is in the right spot. It pivots from 90 degree to 45-ish. to inline, depending upon what you're working on. By the way, I did want to point out something that I noticed. I saw a little bit of play in the pivoting section. You know, maybe nothing. It just has more pivot than a little more play than other pivot saws that I've seen. So keep that in mind. Did not affect the function of the saw whatsoever. Now let's talk a little bit about the clamp, which is of course the feature that makes this one different than the other saws. With the clamp fully retracted, you can use this much like any other pivoting recip saw. 3,000 strokes per minute. Try to count them. It's fast. But the real beauty of this is that extendable shoe. So what you do basically is you push the button on the side. The clamp itself has increments of quarter-inch increments marked on it. There are also detents, but they're in 1/8-inch increments. Don't know why they don't match, but they don't. You place the saw over whatever it is you're going to be cutting and adjust the clamp back so that there's just a little bit of wiggle room. And we'll show you how it cuts in just a second. Let's talk about the weight of this saw. Now, Porter Cable says that the thing weighs, 4+ pounds. That's without the battery. You add the battery in and you're looking at 6 and change. So, and remember, again, the battery is separate along with the charger. Blade changing on this clamp saw couldn't be easier. You twist the blade clamp collar, you slide the blade in, and yes, it will work in either position. One of the simplest features of this is the blade changing. There's also a very cool light, an LED work light on the front of the saw. And while I think some work lights may be absolutely worthless, this one actually has some brightness to it. This will light up some dark areas if you're working on pipe or whatever. It'll give you enough illumination to see what you're doing. All right, let's see the clamp saw in action. Again, when we left our hero, it was being clamped around a piece of 3/4-inch copper pipe. Now, once you get it in position, and again, you want just a little bit of play, make sure obviously you have whatever you're cutting clamped well. Squeeze the trigger, variable speed, and it slices through it like butter. Well, let me tell you, I installed a water line not too long ago, and I used this tool exclusively with the metal cutting blade, which does not come with it. But I used it for all of the copper, all 3/4-inch line. Used it for every cut, and it worked flawlessly, and gave a nice cut. Slight burr, but hey, I'm not using a pipe cutter. I'm using a reciprocating saw. I don't have any leaks. That's the good news. So the Porter Cable PCC475B. This thing rocks. It looks good. It sounds good. It's a little front heavy. This is a two-handed saw, I think, but I give it a thumbs up here. If you ask me, the B in the model number stands for bad. Can I say that on the internet?